Hello, it's Brian Whitten and ET Art. How are you today? I thought I'd make another video. This is the third of a series I put up in respect to the population of Earth. Not just now, but in respect breeding. So it's called Breeding Stock Part 3. Before I go on, if you're 13 years old or younger, could you please get your parents to watch this video, and if they say it's okay, it's fine with me. For those of you who had visited my channel before, we've discussed this parchment on quite a few occasions, and there are many things and meaning that can be read into it. The damaged portions of the parchment, in my opinion, are not damaged. The message, once again, is within the damage. There are buildings all over the globe where the very same processes is done. That is, that the message be within the damage. In this instance, what I wanted to talk with you about today was the breeding cycle being affected. Those of you who have watched the channel, like I said, are aware. At this point, we are fully aware why the pyramids are here. We know how the Earth was tilted off its axis, being straight, it's being tilted, moved away from what is the horizontal plane of the sun, and the whole process of all the megaliths and pyramids are here on Earth to tell us exactly that. What I wanted to say about this parchment, just quickly moving on, was that the very crossing of the plane of the sun is written into the top of this parchment here. It is the 24th of the 12th at 3:30 AM. That's where we cross the plane of the sun, and these pillars up here are representative of the horizontal plane of the sun. That this tear mark here is our 6,000 year cycle, which is why we see 6 pillars removed from the top of that parchment. I don't want to spend too long there, but I just wanted to let you know that that's what the parchment is telling us. The parchment is also telling us, because there's a teacher at both ends, that there are given persons within the population here that know what I'm telling you is the truth. In other words, we see here these people still in our population, the yellow being population at the moment, that the people that know, they're people that know, they know the old lesson. These people here are being shown getting the new lesson here. There's only 4 billion. This is reflective of the Earth's population. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, that's how many people we've got here. 7, 8 billion people. It's got that world population at the very end of the cycle. That's why it's like that. It's letting us know they knew how many people were going to be on the planet. What I wanted to tell you about, though, and mention to you, that if we're looking this tear here being, this is a 6,000 year cycle, to think that that's 2,000, that's 2,000, and that's 2,000, that's not a silly thing to think, is it? It's really quite a sensible thing. And then say, okay, well, if that's 2,000, that's Christ, the time of Christ. We've gone from, I'm going to say what they say we were, 1.5 billion people here 2,000 years ago is what they are saying. There's 3 people cut in half, so there's 1.5 billion people 2,000 years ago. That's turned into 8. Let's make it 2, just to make the math easier, and we've done this before. 2 to 8 is a multiple of 4 in less than 2,000 years, but they're showing us having a total here of 16 billion. So then if we ponder our, say, 2 billion to 8, and it's 4 times, well, we're going on with 4, and we've only got 16 in more than 8 times the period of time. So what I believe we're getting told here is that in actual fact there's more than one place we go to. Like when you're going to be here for this 16,000 years with them here the whole time, teaching us nothing but what's the reality here, or why it is the way it is. If in actual fact what I'm saying here and what the parchment is telling us is correct, or my assumption or my assessment of it is correct. Like I said, I'm not the only person on the planet, obviously, that knows what I'm telling you is true, because like I said, we have this teacher here and we have a portion of our population here, nearly, if we're to believe that, nearly half of us. Like I said, we look to be the bigger half, if you know what I mean, because there's 4 exactly there and there's 4 and a bit more here. So we're lucky that we're on the bigger half. Otherwise this cycle may not be a 6,000, it could have been a 6,000 and a 4,000 year upward cycle. One thing I will say, the cycles that we're on, the plane of our planet is shown, or plane of rotation of our planet is shown to shift down, and the first initial impact here. Here and over there it doesn't. The ones at both ends here coming into the plane of the sun on that slow cycle and leaving, sometimes there's cycles over there when you're going backwards out towards Mars where there's 2 off-plane cycles there. That one, they vary between 3,000 and 4,000 years, these. They can be both. When we see 16 billion over here, it isn't reflective of our population growth. It tells us that, in my opinion, to let us know more than one thing. We are, in this period of time, we are under their control, under their teachings. We are not going to be misled anymore about what goes down. So they're going to be here with Atlantis installed the whole time for this 16,000 years. We are going to be populating Mars here. The people here will not be doing the unspeakable things of the people within this 666 cycle. This is another thing that is also the case, that these numbers that are reflective in this are not reflected in these other 2 cycles in speed, 66 kilometers per hour, 66,000 miles an hour, but that could be just purely because the people here in this lesson know of that secret and why it's here, and why it's 6,000 years. So that is why the Masonic lodges and the secret societies know of those numbers. It could be just purely that, not for any other reason, but it is also associated with the satanic ritual sacrifice of children and consumption of human flesh, which is very, very sad indeed, but they are dealt with without doubt here by the people that come here to do this. They do not let them go on with this new lesson, but they also, I would expect, not kill them. They're no better off the day they do that. They are no better off than the people they're getting rid of. I would expect they be on one of these other worlds. I've said to you that there are more than one type of people getting created of humans here. We are off cycle here with a tilt on the axis in these cycles. The cycle here in plane with the sun here and here are not. They're not the same. You are sitting in a planet with a straight axis and the moon is being moved towards the sun and back and towards the sun to give us our ability to breed. That is why I said that that was the case. But ponder, if you would, the following. When I bring us back to this crop circle, the irony is it started to rain and we're talking crops, so this is very good, a very good thing, because this is where we were looking at. My interpretation of this was more than one thing, as most of the designs of what is left here for us to understand what's going down are more than one meaning. We are seeing, in my opinion, the moon and the size of the moon against the size of the sun, as it is at the moment. If we had a full eclipse and we were at Earth, the moon would cover the sun exactly. It's always been a wonder of our solar system as to why that is the case. That's because they put it there and they're about to move it away. What they've got to do is they move it from a 5-day period. I suggested that is why we're seeing 5 of consecutive ones of these. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons why, that the initial crossing of the sun, the very point in time on the 24th, or though, at the end of the year at Christmas, that 1 week, we're seeing the moon, I believe, be moved away to the point it straightens the last part of the axis of the globe, and by this stage the Earth is already spinning faster. The point I wanted to come back to here is that I also believe that it showed us the cycle of the moon from that point, that it goes from there to a size like this in front of the sun, right? And then at its smallest there. So we're seeing a 3-month change in the size of the moon in front of the sun. Now obviously this only affects the equatorial regions of Earth. It's not going to affect, this is the idea of this is to stop the horizontal plane controlling the Earth to the point it does. In other words, at the point it would speed it beyond, so that it would be a 16-hour day. That's what they don't want. And not to mention the fact that you get global tsunamis driven by this very, very narrow, strong band of horizontal magnetism of the sun. We are not affected by it because of the skew of the axis. We're not affected to it until the very day the angles are all correct and we slip into it and we're there. We're there for 16,000 years without their help. It's a very instantaneous thing and we all die, everything will die. But come back to this again, we are looking at a sequence that I suggested was that these were months, that these dots were months. So we were 1, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So the 5-month cycle like this was what we were having. And that we were looking at the moon being closest to Earth at the time, so that the period of ovulation was 3 months, or 3 months of the 10-month period. So you've got 5 months here, 5 months here, and that 3 times during that period of time the woman on our Earth can ovulate. However, it's in a field of grain because there are everything else on Earth depends on the sequences of the moon and such things. With a straight axis we no longer have the seasons of the year. So all of which is why it's in a field of grain here. There are many, many, many other living things on our planet that we need to exist, for us to exist. And this is the point that I'm trying to make. But the other point before I finish up with that is to say, okay, we can only have a child once every 9 months anyway. We're going to have 3 opportunities. That is not going to reduce our population by a quarter. It's impossible. That's what they're actually saying here. It's not just us, it's everything else that we've got to look at. But having said that, I've also said it's impossible for that sequence, with us knowing about it, and women knowing how to have children and men knowing how to participate as well, that the situation be that that's impossible for a 1/4 population decrease in a sequence where the moon was used as such. So therefore, once again, I'm telling you, maybe we're even seeing here that I've said to you there are other worlds that we go to, and is this not telling us that maybe there's possibly 5 other worlds as well? That in where I said to you with the star fort, in Sophie's work, where there are 5-pointed star forts, saying that there are other worlds we go to, but there's also some of these where there's, like I said, I would expect the worst of the 666 people, the people on our planet that are real cold people, that have no soul and no regret nor remorse for the harm they would do another human, let alone a child, and do the unspeakable things. They would be on one of these planets here. They would be put back in a realm where their behaviour be exactly related to the life on that planet, right down to a T, I would expect. If I was going to say that there was anything, I'm not an Egyptologist, I have no idea what the glyphs are supposedly taught to mean, or any of these Katyushas and what king they're supposed to be referring to. I could look at them and probably say, well, in my opinion, with what I believe now, I don't believe what you're telling me they mean, but there's no point doing that. I'm going to just sit here and say to you that what we've discussed already in respect to the moon and the cycles of a woman in ovulation, that this is a glyph. The diagram and pictures are what I'm looking at. I will bring your attention to what I've already said here, the sun and the moon being closer. So the moon is at this point closest to Earth. So therefore it is shown at a time when the woman can ovulate. We then count the number of hands down here. I'll move in a little bit to make it a little easier for you. And I'll bring your attention here to these. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The ninth hand is pointing to her pelvic area because she's carrying a child. That's easy to see, she's a woman. So in the 9th month, that's why this is reflective of that period. In this 9 months here, the amount of times that she's going to be in a period where she can ovulate is starting here, just like I showed you with the crop circle. We are counting the same number. If we look at this here, we are from that point, 1, 2 to get in, 1, 2 to get back out again, and we're just off center. And then the next one is 1, 2. We're seeing this move because each month is the next month, and that's how they maintain the ability to be able to breed all the different star signs of people, whilst we have a situation where the moon is being moved in and out towards the sun. That is why the 9th hand is pointing at her belly. She's a woman, she's a teenager, and this one here is a lot younger and got a waddy stick there. Something like this, which they should have, and so should she. But she's also saying here, the same time frame. They are both the same here. If you have a look at the young woman as opposed to the elder woman, they've got both those signs there above their head, so they're both saying that they are both susceptible to that type of situation, although, like I said, you can see this one here, where it comes down and touches here. It's the same thing again. She's got the same things because she's has the same rate of fertility as the mother. Just before I leave this parchment, I will bring your attention to, once again, the 3 people standing here. Not giants. In this case, we're talking about a very young woman here, and even younger woman here, which is why the pelvic area is exposed on both these young ladies, showing you that they are, in actual fact, that young ladies. I would also draw your attention, if I may, then to the hands on this side. The hand here is very close to the woman's midriff, but the hand is close. The hand is not close to this woman, and these hands are even further away from this young child. You can read a lot into their parchments, and you could go and learn a lesson in glyphs in a university somewhere. I have a feeling none of this reflects any of what I've just told you that means. That would be my guess. This too is another reason why I made a video today. I wasn't going to make any more for a bit, but I once again will bring your attention to Mr. MBB 333. I am a subscriber to his channel and have been for quite some time. He's got some really brilliant work up, and a lot of his patrons sent him some very, very valuable information, and it's been very useful to me. I wanted to show you this because we have spoken about the requirement when Earth stands back straight on its axis like this on the horizontal plane, that it needs to be balanced. And there's been indications with not just this. I wanted to show you that before I go on with the next part, just to let you know that that was one of his reports. And it was, strangely enough, I made my last video was about Mount Etna, and something was going to go down, you know, that the pyramids may be moved out of the way, or rather large land masses. I guess the only reason I wanted to come back here from those people that are in a situation where they are in control of things and they're seeing our land masses being cut up, just like Australia has been, you know, we've been told Australia is going to be cut up, that this was on his report, and this is a natural phenomenon that's actually happened there. It's actually gone down the entire length of the globe, not far off where I was actually telling you it was going to cut South America. So I just thought I'd let you see that Whether that at one point the landmass was here and the line was that way, I don't know, but I'm just letting you know that that's the case, which made me think about one thing I wanted to say. I've just brought Google Earth up very shortly because I did discuss in one of my last videos where the land masses were going to move, and I did show you, as I've just shown you, South America with a big natural line drawn across it, which isn't too far off the line we're seeing there, although the one I was thinking about was they were going to move this part here upwards. That may not be the case. Like I said, there may be massive amounts of land moved, and if it's all to do with a matter of balance, well then this would be the problem. Because there is no land mass here at all in the Pacific Ocean. There's almost half the globe here without any land on it at all. So if it's a matter of balance, we may be seeing rather large tracts of land moved here. I'm talking about most of this here, not that bit moving that way, but most of this here moving this way. This could be what needs to happen. Certainly that line drawn naturally like that through, if it's natural, then they have many abilities, that's for sure. Certainly we've seen on diagrams in rocks this cracked across here and moved that way. So with Australia though, the one thing I did want to say with that movement of land is where it appears to me they let the movement naturally, right? So in other words, where there is a natural force, they use it, which is why I went through that process of explaining the planet's movement as well. I would think that what they're going to do, and I've said before, they're going to cut up through here, through Australia, right through the top with these big cutters, and rather than move it, they may have a situation where they let the Earth's mass move underneath the continent, and where it starts to break off or crack, it starts to gradually move this way, and that's what they do. They then float it on water. I'll show you one thing just before I move on. I know that's a little bit shaky on the screen. I just wanted to show you how the process of floating a continent becomes possible. If we look at a cubic meter of water is 1,000 kilograms. If I then look at a cubic meter of sandstone, the figure for sandstone here, if I look at a cubic meter of sandstone, it says that it's 1.6 or 1,602 kilograms per square meter. Okay, that's right here. Okay, and now I'll look for granite. If we look at granite, it is roughly, it says there, about 2,691 kilos per cubic meter. Okay, so a cubic meter that's about 2.6 times heavier than water at sea level. Now I've just brought you back to an image. I know it's a bit crude. It does explain what I wanted to explain. If we took a cubic meter of water, and we've just spoken of the weight of all three, sandstone, granite and our cubic meter of water, and say how much does that cubic meter of water weigh there, and how much does it weigh when I put it down here? So the question is then just exactly how many cubic meters of granite or sandstone does 1 cubic meter displace at pressure of 3,000 meters, because that's what that should be there. It should be 3,000 meters, not feet. But I just wanted to give you that theory because the cubic meter down there weighs way heavier and would account for massive amounts of land with the pressure at that level. That is how I would expect that principle of land and mass movement occurs with our continents. And I would expect, like I said, if you have a look at Google Earth, and then if we go back to Google Earth and then look at our planet and realise just how much it is manipulated, if everything we're learning here is real, and we're going to learn this from them, that there is no land here, and it would be reasonable to expect a fair bit of South America is going to be moved this way, and a fair bit of North America move this way as well. I've suggested that possibly where we're seeing the lakes point in North America is where we're going to see it cut, which is why this bay is like this here. It's the same as in New South Wales, and they're going to cut through here and cut down through Arizona and out this way as well. I would expect that to be the case. So there's a lot of land that's going to be moved, and I would expect a fair bit of chunk of that is going to be coming across this way here, where it looks like it's may have either come from at one point. Who knows? But anyway, I'll leave you with that. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art. There is much to learn, and we are not very far off learning it, I would expect. Thanks again. Have a nice day. Bye.